Hi there, in this video we're gonna do a quick review of an L bracket I purchased from Amazon. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, why do you need an L bracket? An L bracket is an attachment that you mount onto your camera on the bottom, usually where the tripod plate goes. Now, L brackets will fit a specific type of plate, in this case an Arca Swiss type. The reason why you need an L bracket is because it will allow you to shoot landscape and portrait photography with ease. Now, I know what you're thinking. You can mount your camera onto your tripod and do both landscape and portrait photography. The only difference is that if you're like me and you tend to buy generic tripods, you notice that when you switch your tripod onto the landscape angle, when you take a picture, sometimes the camera tends to move little by little, and it will show up in the final shot. And that's where an L bracket comes in handy. Because once you mount the L bracket onto your camera, you're gonna be able to switch between the horizontal position and the portrait position with ease without it affecting the final product. In a second, I'll mount my camera onto the L bracket so that you guys can see how it goes. And I also attach it onto my camera so that you can see the difference between using the L bracket for portrait photography and using your tripod for portrait photography. So hang in there, and I hope the video is of interest to any of you. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put the L bracket together. Now, depending on what brand you have, the assembling process might be a little bit different, but I've noticed that most generic brands tend to have a similar setup. Okay, all you're gonna need are these two screws right here, an Allen wrench, and these two plates right here. This is gonna be the bottom plate, this is where the camera is gonna rest, and this is gonna be the side plate right there. Now, putting it together is relatively simple. You'll notice that at the bottom there are those two holes right there. Let's get the camera to focus a little bit. There you go. And all you have to do is match those with the two right here on the top, on the bottom, sorry. This right there. You match them together, so you'll look something like this when it's all said and done. There you go. Now, let's put it together. The first thing you're gonna wanna do, you're gonna take the two tiny screws right here and pass them through. Like so. Okay, so focus a little bit so that you can see it. There you go. You pass them through the side plate just like that, and then you attach it to the bottom plate right there. Then you're gonna take the key, the Allen wrench, and you're going to tighten the screws right there. That should do it. You shouldn't tighten each screw to the fullest until they're both down, so just be careful with it. Right there. Now let's go to the other one. Make it as tight as possible. There you go. And this is what you're gonna have in the end. Right there. So, as you can see, this is where your camera is gonna rest, and this is the side plate. Right there. Okay. First, let's take a quick look around the L bracket. On the bottom right there, you have the standard 1/4 screw. That's what you use to mount it onto your camera, the same way you do using a tripod plate. It can move up and down so that you can adjust the position of the camera accordingly, especially if you have a bigger camera. As you can see, it has rubber pads. That's to prevent the camera from sliding. On the side, right there, you see all those tiny little holes, and those are so that you can have access to some of the controls on the camera. You know, usually where the mic goes plugged or even the shutter release. On the bottom, right here, there you go. On the bottom, you'll see that it has these little screws right there, and those are to prevent the plate, the L bracket, from sliding off of the tripod or the ball head mount. It also has the same on the other side, right there, because like I told you guys, this right here, this is how you mount it where you're gonna do landscape photography. But if you're in a hurry and you need to do portrait photography, all you have to do is swap it and put it this way. And there you go. It's pretty simple. Now, in a second, I'm gonna mount the camera so that you see how it works. But I'm gonna have to switch from the camera and start recording with my phone. So once again, I apologize for the image quality, but hopefully it won't be too bad. Be right back. Now, the following step is relatively simple. It's basically the same step you guys perform every time you mount the tripod plate onto your camera. So, it's as simple as this. You take the L bracket, you align it with the screw on the bottom, and then you just tighten it, like so. Now, make sure that the bracket is very straight, because as you can see right here, the little holes on that side align perfectly with the connectors of the camera. Now, I personally think the holes are a little bit too small for you to actually connect anything, at least if the plug of the connector themselves are relatively big. But at the end of the day, this is a relatively cheap L bracket, so I can't complain too much. So you can see, that's how it goes. Now, one thing that you guys need to remember once it's mounted onto the camera is that your camera is gonna be relatively heavier, because this right here, these two pieces are solid pieces of steel, which is a good thing, because remember, that's what makes it secure, but it will make your camera quite heavy. Now, in a second, I'm gonna mount the camera onto my ball head so that you guys can see how you switch from horizontal to vertical position. Okay, be right back. As you can see here, we have the camera set up in the landscape position. Now, if you wanted to take a portrait of somebody, all you have to do is unlock the knob right there, turn the camera into the portrait angle, and then lock it into position. And while looking at it, you would think it's perfectly set up in landscape mode, in portrait mode, and nothing seems to be moving. But if you take a picture, you'll notice that the photo might be a little bit soft or even blurry, especially if you're taking pictures that require longer exposure. And that's because the lens, even though this was an 18-55, is creating a little bit of counterweight right here, and it's forcing the camera to slightly tilt down, even if you can't see it with the naked eye. So we're going to see how this differs drastically if you were to use an L bracket. Okay, so let's make the switch real quick, and you guys can be the judge. Be right back. So here we have the camera attached onto the L bracket. Now, the reason why I'm using this particular setup is because my tripod is very old, so it doesn't have an Arca Swiss mount. So that's where my ball head comes into place. But you guys don't have to worry about it too much, because nowadays you can actually buy tripods that already have an Arca Swiss mount on it. Now, let's say you want to take a picture in portrait mode. All you have to do is pretty simple. You unlock the L bracket, you flip it, and then you tighten it. And there you go. As you can see, that was relatively quick, and the reason why this setup is a lot more effective than using your standard plate from your tripod is because now the weight of the camera is evenly distributed straight down onto the tripod. And the reason why that's more effective is because you don't have to worry about the counterweight from a heavy lens or anything like that. Therefore, it's going to give you a lot nicer photos. You don't have to worry about blurriness or anything. Just turn it around so that you can take a quick look. See what it looks like all the way around. And there. Yeah. It's a pretty simple setup, but a very effective one nonetheless. After using the L bracket for a couple of months, I can honestly say that it is worth the money. Now, I did notice that a couple of reviews, one or two here and there on Amazon, they had a few issues with it, but mine has been working perfectly fine ever since I got it. And I can honestly say that I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's in the need of an L bracket, because after looking around on Amazon, I did notice that there were many to choose from, but the key is the price. You'll find a couple that are pretty cheap, and then you'll find a couple of others that are very expensive. This one was relatively cheap. I was lucky when I purchased it. I was taking a gamble, but at the end of the day, it paid off. I would definitely recommend this one to anybody who needs one. Now, as always, if you guys have any question on the L bracket, let me know. You could write down on the comments below and I'll answer as soon as I can. So take care. Thank you for watching the review and I'll see you guys later. Bye.